There's a moment that happens to a lot of people inside a car dealership. You've done the research. You've spent the night before going through consumer reports, checking the invoice price, watching YouTube videos about how to negotiate. You walk in feeling more prepared than the average buyer. And by the time it's over, you drive home thinking you won. That feeling, that specific sense of satisfaction when you shake hands and walk out. I want to talk about that feeling today. Because for most people, it's not what they think it is. My name is Finn. Welcome back to Finley Invest. I'm 48 years old, and I've made most of the financial mistakes a person can make in a lifetime. Some of them cost me a few $100s. Some of them cost me a few thousand. But the one I want to talk about today is the kind of mistake that doesn't even feel like a mistake. It feels like a win. And in some ways, that makes it the most expensive kind. Here's what most people believe about buying a car. They believe the negotiation happens on the sales floor, that the goal is to get as close to invoice price as possible, and that if you can pay cash, you hold the power. That last one, paying cash. I want to sit with that for a second because it's one of those ideas that feels so obviously correct that most people never stop to question it. Cash is king. We've heard that for decades. Pay cash, avoid debt, keep it simple. In most areas of life, that's sound thinking. Pay cash for a vacation. Pay cash for furniture. Pay cash for anything depreciating if you can help it. That logic is solid almost everywhere. But a car dealership is not most places. And the reason comes down to something that most buyers never see because it was never designed to be seen. Let me tell you about two people. I'll call them Derek and Travis. They don't know each other yet, but they end up connected by the same car dealership, the same model, and the same month. Derek is the kind of buyer dealerships quietly respect even as they work around him. He came in prepared. He'd pulled the manufacturer's invoice price from Consumer Reports. That's the price the manufacturer charges the dealership for the car. The sticker price on the car he wanted was $32,250. The invoice was $29,900. Derek negotiated for over an hour. Back and forth, the salesman making every dollar feel like a battle. And by the end, Derek had the price down to $29,950. $50 above invoice. The salesman leaned back and said they were basically losing money on the deal. Derek believed him. And honestly, you can't blame him for that. $50 of gross profit on a $30,000 sale sounds like nothing. It basically is nothing. But here's the thing. That $50 is the only number Derek was allowed to see. Underneath that surface number, there are layers. Most buyers never learn they exist. I didn't know about them the first 2 times I bought a car. Probably didn't know about them the third time either. The first layer is called a dealer holdback. After the sale closes, the manufacturer sends money back to the dealership. It's a private arrangement, not disclosed to consumers. On a car with a $32,250 sticker, a 2% holdback means the manufacturer quietly sent the dealership over $640 after the deal was done. At 3%, that's close to $970. So in Derek's case, the dealership didn't make $50. The holdback alone put them at somewhere between 10 and 19 times that. Then there are dealer cash incentives. If a manufacturer overproduced a particular model and needs to move it off lots, they pay dealerships a bonus to prioritize that car. You won't see it. You have no way of knowing whether the car you're buying has one attached to it. Then there's a volume bonus, sometimes called a stair-step bonus. Dealerships that sell more cars in a given period earn larger payout. This is why dealerships get more flexible toward the end of the month. They're not being generous. They're chasing a threshold that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars across their entire inventory. There are regional incentives, floor plan assistance, a subsidy the manufacturer pays to cover the interest the dealership owes on cars sitting on the lot, and back-end programs tied to customer satisfaction scores. None of these numbers appear on any consumer research tool. Not Consumer Reports, not Edmunds, not Kelley Blue Book. They exist between the manufacturer and the dealership, and they reduce the dealership's real cost below what anyone outside that relationship can calculate. So Derek negotiated the visible number well. He just didn't know about any of the invisible ones. But even that's not the part that matters most. Because there's a room Derek hadn't walked into yet. After the handshake on the sales floor, Derek is led down a hallway into a smaller office. The negotiation is over. He's mentally exhaled. He's relaxed. He's thinking about the drive home. The person sitting across from him in that office has a title, Finance Manager. That title sounds administrative. It's not. The finance manager is the highest earning salesperson in the building, and they're sitting in the most profitable room in the dealership, precisely because buyers like Derek walk in with their guard all the way down. From the public financial statements of large publicly traded dealership groups, companies like Lithia Motors, AutoNation, Penske, the finance office generates somewhere between $2,000 and $2,800 per car, on top of whatever the dealership made from selling it. Here's where that comes from. When you finance through the dealership, the lender approves you at one rate. The dealership charges you a higher one. That difference, the loan reserve, is profit. It runs about $600 to $800 per car. Then there's the extended warranty. It sounds comprehensive. What you're not shown is how thin the coverage often is compared to what you're paying, and how much of what you pay is pure margin. Gap insurance is actually a legitimate product if you're financing. It covers the difference between what you owe and what the car is worth if it's totaled. But it's also marked up. Add processing fees, registration markups, documentation charges, electronic filing fees. Every one of them carries a small profit. Individually they feel minor. Together, just the paperwork generates $700 to $800 per car. When you add up everything that happens in that back office, the finance manager's room adds roughly $2,700 to $2,900 to the dealership's total profit. On a deal where the salesman said they were losing money. Now let's talk about Travis. Travis saw Derek's new car in the driveway a week after Derek got it. Loved it. Asked where he got it. That same weekend, Travis drove to the exact same dealership, asked for the exact same model. And Travis paid $2,400 more. Same car. Same dealership. Same month. The difference wasn't the car, and it wasn't the salesman, and it wasn't luck. It was 5 words Travis said when he walked in. I'm paying cash. Best price. He thought that was leverage. Cash on the table. No games. But here's what the dealership heard. I'm about to remove $2,000 to $2,800 of your most profitable revenue from this transaction. No loan reserve. No interest markup. No warranty upsell with the full margin attached. The entire finance office profit layer gone. So the dealership did the only rational thing. It made up the difference on the sticker price. Less flexibility in negotiation, harder on every line item, and Travis paid $2,400 more for the same car his neighbor bought. There's something almost elegant about how this works against the instinct we've all been taught. We think cash removes complexity. At a dealership, cash removes their income, and they price you accordingly. I want to sit here for a second, because this isn't really a story about car dealership. It's a story about how systems work in ways we're never shown. The rules of almost every financial transaction you've ever made were written by the person on the other side of the table. Not to harm you, but to optimize for their outcome. And most of the time, you're playing by rules you don't even know exist. That's not a reason to feel angry or cynical. It's a reason to be curious. To ask, before any significant financial decision, what are the layers here that I'm not seeing? What does the other side of this transaction actually want from me? In a car dealership, what they want is for you to finance. Not because they're trying to trap you, but because financing is their most profitable product. When you understand that, you stop trying to fight the system and start using it. So what do you actually do? The strategy is simpler than you might expect, and it starts before you say a single word. Walk in as a financing buyer. Don't mention cash. This keeps you classified as a high-profit customer in the dealership's mental model, and that classification gives you more room to negotiate on the purchase price. They expect to make money in the finance office later, so they're more flexible up front. At the initial intake form, that clipboard they hand you at the door, there's a question about whether you're paying cash or financing. This is the first of 3 quiet tests the dealership runs to determine your buyer type. If you write, "not sure," and say you want to see your options, you stay neutral without committing. Negotiate the purchase price as hard as you can. Use the knowledge that the average buyer pays over $3,000 above invoice. Derek got it to $50. That range is your starting point. In the finance office, negotiate the F&I product. You now know the margins. The extended warranty has $700 to $1,000 of profit built in. That's room to negotiate the price or decline it, and come back later if you change your mind. Gap insurance is a real product if your loan balance exceeds the car's value, but the markup is real too. You don't have to say yes to everything, and the things you do want, you don't have to pay list price. Before you sign anything, read the loan contract line by line. Confirm 2 things. First, there is no loan origination fee. Second, there is no prepayment penalty. If both of those are true, sign the loan, drive home, and pay it off. Within a week. Within a month. Before meaningful interest has time to accumulate. You technically financed the car. For a brief window. You got the financing buyer's price. You avoided the cash buyer penalty. And you paid it off before the cost of the loan changed your math. The whole strategy lives or dies on those 2 conditions. No origination fee and no prepayment penalty. If either one exists, you'll need to run the numbers on whether the purchase price savings outweigh the costs. In most cases they still do. But always run the numbers. That's the move every time. Derek drove home thinking he won. And in one sense, he did. He was miles ahead of the average buyer on the visible negotiation. But he didn't know about the invisible layers. He didn't know about the room at the end of the hallway. Travis thought cash was power. It cost him $2,400. Neither of them did anything wrong, exactly. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And that's the thing about financial systems. The gap between knowing and not knowing is often measured in real dollars, in real months of your life that you work to earn that money. You don't have to be a negotiation expert to come out better in a car deal. You just have to understand the structure of the transaction before you walk into it. What each party wants, where the real money moves, and how to work inside that system rather than against it. If there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this. The most expensive financial mistakes aren't usually the ones that feel like mistake. They're the ones that feel like wins. The handshake, the drive home, the quiet satisfaction of thinking you got a good deal. That's the feeling worth interrogating. Not with anxiety, but with curiosity. Because 9 times out of 10, there's a layer underneath it you haven't seen yet. Take your time. Do the math. And remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is just knowing a little more than you did yesterday. I'm Finn. This is Finley Invest. If this helped you see something you didn't see before, subscribe and hit the bell. We'll be here next time.